it is 5:15 on Monday, August 14th, 2017, and the Carroll City Council meeting is now in session. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Note everybody, see everybody's in attendance except Misty. We'll start with the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the July 24th meeting, approval of bills and claims, and a renewal of a Class C liquor license with Sunday sales, BNS 529. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Fleischner?
Yes.
Turks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. And I see the next item is oral requests and communications from the audience for things that are not on the agenda. Someone would like to speak? Come forward, please.
I would like to talk on pickleball.
Yes, come up forward. Give us your name at the microphone, and then go ahead.
Okay, I'm Marcia Tiefenthaler,
Okay.
and I would like to talk about pickleball, which is one of the fastest growing sports.
Okay.
And it's an upcoming sports with any age level. We need a 64 by 136 foot area for 4 courts. And it's a rough estimate of $100,000. And right now we have at least 20 players, and as soon as somebody starts, they keep coming. And right now we have 2 courts taped off or painted, and I understand they were supposed to do Rolling Hills paint, and that they did Northwest. So I'm just wondering if it'd be a possibility, being he made a mistake, if he could come and paint Rolling Hills so we would have 4 courts, because there's people that want to play.
Sure.
And we play for an hour and a half to 2 hours every morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's almost every day of the week now. So, and I was talking to Jack, and for an area, and maybe he gave you a picture, I was looking on the south side.
Is that what these are for, Jack?
Yeah.
I was looking on the south side of Northwest Park, because there used to be a little baseball area there with the backboard, and it's real level, and there's a possibility that it's level, so you don't need much prep work.
Grading, yeah, okay.
So we would love it if Paul would come back and paint the others so we can all play. Then we'd have 2 areas going until, if this gets approved.
So this picture here is just, this is
4 new courts.
4 new courts. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and we need at least 4. You can't start out with less than 4, and that would be $100,000.
So which parks are the ones that are, the tennis courts that are painted now?
Northwest Park is painted. It's not really very good. There's no bathroom. It's all cracked, and not much parking. So
Okay.
if he'd come back and paint the other 2 in Rolling Hills, and then if this would pass and eventually get 4 new courts, then at least next year when we have more players, we'd have 2 areas to play. Because we're out there at 7 in the morning. If anybody wants to drive past the court, we're there.
So the 4 courts there'd be enough
2
parking.
now.
No, I guess I'm looking at this one.
Oh,
You'd have, parking would be okay.
parking would be okay. The level is good. Might not need much work. There's trees to break wind. There's a bathroom, a shelter house, parking.
Okay.
So we would love to have you consider it, wouldn't we, girls?
Is that,
Yeah.
this is the crew that was in the news?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, in the paper,
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, she did a great job. I never had my name mentioned so much in my life.
Marcia, isn't part of the issue with using these tennis courts that it affects play, that the court is
They're
too
too
big and
deep. They're too deep.
the ball leaves?
Yes.
It's hard to retrieve it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because I went to watch you guys play, and
Oh,
that was an
did you?
issue. Yeah, I was there, and
Yeah, if we
seeing
have a
me up on the
Fitbit,
top of the
we get
hill,
a-
I did.
We get our exercise.
I stopped one morning because I knew when you played, just
Sure.
because I have an interest in this.
Yeah,
And-
they're too deep.
Yeah, they're too deep
So we
and
have to
too
run.
wide, so the ball leaves, and
Yeah.
it affects play, I
Yeah,
recognize
it affects
that,
play.
so.
Because normally in a pickleball court, that it's divided,
Correct.
between. And then I told Jack in Arizona, we have 250 players, and we have 16 courts, and they're going to eventually have 32 courts. And I told him I would take pictures, because there's an area, like benches in the front, where people wait their turn, and their little canopy, over the top with benches, and people can watch. Like, for instance, Ruth Feldman, she was at golf, and she said, "Oh, I'd love to watch pickleball. I'm going to come watch you." Well, there's no way she's going to be able to watch us in Rolling Hills, because she can't hardly walk down those, in the northwest part.
Yeah.
So she can hardly go down the hill. What was you going to ask?
I was going to ask you, this, when you're talking 100,000, that's the surface, not a fence. I mean,
I think that's
I
total.
think you're going to need
I
a
think that's
fence if
total.
you don't want to chase.
You need fence.
You're going to need fence, you're
That would-
talking, yeah.
Yeah.
So 100,000 would just be the surface based on your
I think it's
research?
the whole,
Where did you get the estimate?
Yeah.
Me, real quick.
Okay.
Real quick.
Yeah.
We talked about 4 o'clock today.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What did
So I
the,
think it's total. I think it's fencing and everything.
what did the,
But
park-
Paul over in
Yeah.
Denison
Yeah.
might know.
what did the Park and Rec Board say on this?
They have not.
They haven't-
No, they've not heard it.
In Des Moines, they're going to build 40. They're making a pickleball park with 40 courts. Sac City has a grant. This guy gave $5 million to Sac City, and I know girls up there that they're trying to get some of that money to go to pickleball. And they've been playing, and they've been taping off a court themselves. So, but just for instance, the other day, Saturday, we were playing, and this gentleman walks down there. And I said, "Hi," and I said, "Would you like to play?" He said, "I'd love to play." He said, "I play in Colorado." So he walked up the hill, got his racket, and we played. Later that night, he was there with his 19-year-old daughter with the lights on, because he wanted to teach her. So, everybody that comes, they just keep coming. It's such good exercise. So,
Is this, Jack, this one here, is this just pretty scale?
No. It's height, the height, that's pretty close, but it'd probably go over a little bit further east.
I guess I'm just looking at it in comparison.
Yeah,
to
you have
what
100 feet
tennis
down
court.
there, and
You can
what
just
what
see
do
how
we
much
say, 128
larger
feet?
that would be,
Yeah,
yeah.
longer, yeah.
Is that, I know where you're talking about, but is that softball, or let's call it baseball area? Do the kids use that at all yet for baseball like they used to, or
A little bit,
some?
some.
And I forget if
more
there's,
than
is there a
neighborhood.
backstop there?
There's still backs out
Okay.
there. It'd be more of a neighborhood family going over and playing catch, or a parent throwing the ball. It's not a team practice. They don't team practice there. It's just
Right.
more individual.
Well, where
Probably
you,
the biggest use is like the rec center leagues when they practice soccer and football,
Yes.
like football and stuff like
They
that.
do soccer in that area. Still probably enough area for one team to practice soccer down there.
would you have it be further to the south than what's pictured here, Jack, or is?
I'd go as far north as it stays flat.
Okay.
So you don't have to do as much grading work.
Yeah.
That keeps your costs down too.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, the seating actually is pretty good when you observe from up on top there.
well, you know what we really love? We love going home and vacuuming our cars out because of that sand there.
Oh.
So we have towels to wipe our shoes off.
Oh, jeez.
But we still come.
Any other questions?
We had mentioned there's no parking in the tennis courts that there is now.
You mean where we're playing now?
Yeah, Northwest
Well, it's
Park.
just that circle.
That
And
was-
if you drive by there at 7 in the morning, the circle's full,
Okay.
especially if
I
there's
get that.
10
but
or 12 of
I'm just
us.
thinking there's all kinds of parking down here. You'd have to walk just a little farther.
So right now, when we go, we rotate, because there's only 2 courts, you know. So if we have too many, we just rotate, and then we have a line judge.
It's efficient.
So they stay out of the kitchen.
Are those
So-
tennis courts used much for tennis? Have
No. No.
you looked at-
High school tennis. High school will, when they have a district meet, they might play a couple matches over there. I had me in a meeting when the coaches had their meeting for the tennis, and they all wanted to stay in one location this year, so they played every match at Graham. They didn't go to Rolling. Your best courts are Graham, next best courts would be Rolling Hills, and then this would be the third location that high school play. I don't see driving by much play there. Rolling Hills is your 2 most used tennis courts, even more than
So
the
if you
6
put,
that we built.
how many courts could you put in that 2? If
In
you-
this?
Yeah, on the tennis courts.
You make,
If you set it the other way,
Well, I'm just
out of
thinking,
one
it-
tennis court, you get 2 pickleball courts.
you could actually put 4.
so you
in
could
there.
put 4 in this. So if we resurface that,
It'd need more than just resurface.
What
It's
more
pretty
would it
cracked.
It'd be-
Yeah, that would be, we'd end up having to
Oh.
pull all that concrete
Yeah,
and redo it.
yeah.
And do it like the.
Jack, you had this scheduled to be resurfaced at some
Yeah.
point.
We talked, there's money still in the budget, right, Laura? 50,000,
Yeah.
for resurfacing of those tennis courts, yes.
But if you did northwest, we still have a parking problem, or if you went on the south side.
well, that's
We
not,
wouldn't.
that doesn't seem to me it's that far to walk when you have all that parking.
There might be some additional parking that could be added up there. Not knowing for sure.
And the advantage of the south side is there's trees for breaking wind. So,
So what you're saying is that if this is done, you want it done at Rolling Hills Park?
no,
No.
no, not necessarily Rolling Hills, the
Northwest.
south
Or on the
side
south
of
side.
Northwest Park.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
Yeah,
understand.
Yeah,
when
this
you
sits
alluded to
low,
that
out
before.
of the wind.
Huh?
Marcia,
Yeah.
it sits low, out
Comes
of the
down
wind.
off.
Yes,
So that would be a good thing.
yes, that would be a good thing, because it's just a wiffle ball.
Well, I just was wondering, you brought up that a few
Yeah.
times.
Yeah,
This
That'd
would
be a
be a
second
nice
floor.
area. It's,
so.
yeah.
Can we talk to the Parks and Recs board
Yep.
about
Yep.
this and
Yeah,
and
they
maybe
should-
they can look at it and facilitate it?
We'll meet September.
Okay. We'll bring it forward then.
Okay, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Marcia.
Marcia. Thank you.
There's one more item,
Yes.
Pat?
How are you doing today?
Good.
I was asked to give an update on the Kelly's Kingdom All-Inclusive Park. We unfortunately got busy and missed our meeting with Jack the other day. But to give the council an update, to date, we have raised just short of $64,000 ourselves, coupled with the Timmerman grant, which we received $5,000 from. We have a total of just short of $69,000. We do have a number of upcoming events ahead of the times. One of the local salons in town has a haircut and a brew event at Piranha. They did it in conjunction with Brad Morgan's playing out there, so they're going to try and raise some money for us. Kirp's Bar and Grill has contacted us about bringing in a band and just doing kind of a free will donation type of event there. We have had a few other people contact us. We don't know whether the plans are, there was talk of a golf tournament and some things like that. Actually, a couple of golf tournaments. Those we do not know if they're concrete or not, but they were hoping to try and get them in yet this year. We have some outstanding fundraisers. Charlie's did a event where they gave a portion of their proceeds to Kellen's Kingdom a couple of weeks ago. There's approximately $800 from that that we have not included in this total. And we have a meeting with Avela Bank tomorrow. They had a fundraiser themselves. They're going to present us a check tomorrow. The Kiwanis did their duck races today. There's supposed to be a portion of those proceeds will be coming to us also. We have been contacted by a number of the contractors in town, wondering if there is anything that they can do to help with this project. We've just kind of told them, you know, if it works out, yes, we will be in contact with them. We weren't sure exactly how the companies themselves would handle it. Jack was discussing sidewalk, some things like that, and I know a number of them have offered either assistance in pouring sidewalks to the park or whatever they can provide to help out with that portion of getting some things like that done. So that's kind of where we stand today. I think the plan was to let it out for bid.
I think we will wait yet a couple weeks, see where the other grants come in. We should hear, we have about another 40,000 out there of grant opportunities that we haven't heard. Once we hear and if we're successful with those, I think we're pretty close in with the additional fundraising. I think we'll be at our goal. We were anticipating about $130,000, $140,000. That'd be for the system. Not install, maybe a site supervisor, but that would work with those contractors. What we've done on other projects is the company will bring out a site supervisor and kind of lead the charge for everyone to know what they need to do and what heights and where everything is. So we probably want that done. And then the poured in place rubber surfacing, you have to have that done by a professional. I would not ask anyone to, other than people that do that. And then with that, there's two options. One is a rock base underneath of it, or the other, and more expensive, better, would be a concrete, 4-inch concrete, and then pour the surface on top. That's gonna be a lot more expensive. I can't remember the exact footage. I think it was a couple thousand square feet of that surface area. So concrete ideally would be the best. We'd look at both options when we bid it out. So yeah, that'll be up to the council if they want to. If we're not at that $130,000, $140,000 range, if they want to pick up the shortfall or wait to see, by spring if we have enough money in when we do construction. I was asked, could we possibly get construction this fall? I'd hate to push the project a little bit ahead of schedule just to get it in before winter, and then it's really not being used anyway during the winter. So I'd recommend doing it in the spring. Then give a little bit more time because you'll have to
probably put it out to bid this fall.
Yeah, put out the
spring
bid.
project.
Yeah, October,
Okay.
November. So if when we get together this next couple weeks, when we hear those grants, if there's a shortfall, I'll come back to council with a more, better dollar amount of what we're short. See if the council wants to work on that.
And we have gone through the paperwork. We've set this up as a full-fledged 501c3 foundation. Our goal and our site is to keep this ongoing. We're going to try and plan at least one or two fundraisers each year. This year we hit everybody pretty hard, and the response was just overwhelming. Even at the Merchants Park, they had a fundraiser at the Merchants game, and it was, I think that one raised $2,000. Yeah, it's just amazing what the people are doing. So we're not obviously going to keep going back every year to that, but we thought if we could come up with one or two fun events, we could keep it going, whether it's adding benches or something to this existing park, or doing a smaller version somewhere else, or we've had, like I say at the beginning, we've had a lot of communities contact us wondering about doing this themselves. So that's kind of where we see the foundation going. So it will be something that we kind of plan on keeping going for the future.
Have you, Jack, you showed us 2 locations in Grand Park, correct? Have you discussed which is the preferable location for the configuration you want
Right.
for the equipment?
We did. We'd like to go directly west of the existing playground equipment there.
Okay.
Okay. Scott Parcher came to me a couple weeks ago, thought it might have to be a little bit further west than what we planned the first time. I don't remember what his exact reasoning was, other than I know he was down there trying to map it out and try to get the best location. So it's still gonna be down there north of that parking lot. And so once we do that, and once we pick the site, there will be a 6-foot, 5-foot sidewalk to the playground, and that I'm hoping we can do in-house. But yeah, it's gonna be on that north of the south parking lot,
Okay.
west
Okay.
of the existing
Okay,
equipment.
thanks.
Now, we have 50,000,
Right.
Right.
correct?
Yep.
Is that included in that 69,000, or is that?
No, no, that's just the fundraising and the 5,000 we've got from the Timberman grant so far.
Jack, approximately how short are you, our money for this?
60 what?
That'd be about
69.
118.
Right now, we have about just short of 69,000.
I'd say 30 to 40,
Is what we,
Is what you're short.
yeah. And
But you're
we-
waiting for grants.
We're waiting for grants. We have
That's
one
not including
$30,000 grant that's out there. We have others. I think we have maybe 50,000 of opportunities for grants. So maybe there won't be, the city won't need to add anything to it. So what a great job you guys have
Oh,
done.
yeah.
Yeah.
we're
Money
hoping,
invested in the
Tremendous.
city.
thank you. We're hoping that we can come up with, another 10 to 15,000 ourselves, just through some events that people have talked about, which when we thought about it and talked to the grants, we were hoping, between 20 maybe and 30 from the grants. So if we can do our 15, get the 20 or 30 from grants, we can be pretty close to where we need to be. So, and I think by next fall, we can easily achieve that. So,
I like your idea of doing a smaller configuration elsewhere to spread it out.
Yeah.
So we
over
have
the-
beautiful parks.
It's been a great experience talking to people at all the different events, and that's the one thing. When we said Grand Park, it was kind of everybody did the, that makes sense. But then, much like they were talking about the pickleball, it seems like kind of the Rolling Hills area, and like Southside Park, we had a lot of people, say, could you do something there? And we understand, that it takes a lot of money, but, even, we took Kellen to the park the other day, even a swing, or anything, a slide that you could get him down, doesn't have to be a $160,000 park. Anything to get him, out there, so he can do something while the girls were playing. And I guess that was kind of our vision, is maybe if we could do something on the south side, and then maybe, do something up with all the building, going on. Maybe do something kind of to the north side, with Roman's new addition out there and things like that. Maybe we could, get a couple of small spots around town.
It's a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you for the time.
Appreciate your time. Jack, you still have that, you have a meeting to go to, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna take a report out of order. So we're gonna do down to reports, see change order number 2, Carroll Merchants Baseball Stadium renovation, and Jack, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is to clean up some of the other projects we had going on at the baseball stadium that we thought of at the tail end of the project. We did these items, and now we're just trying to get them incorporated. So when we do have our financial end of it, looks like it's in order. What we spend is basically what we have under contract. And those four changes, number 1 was additional concrete work in front and the main entrance of the concession stand and restrooms. We talked about, I had the mayor down there one day, I think I had Clay down there one day, kind of showing we really needed that area to be cleaned up. It was unlevel, it just didn't look good. So we had that $20,550 for that. Then the bathroom doors, we originally thought because of the traffic coming in and out so much that doors, people would keep hitting each other going in and out of the doors all the time. So we didn't have doors on the original plan, but as soon as we got it up and looked at it, we needed the doors. So we put doors on the men's and women's bathroom, That is the labor part of it for those doors. And then the Parks Department asked, we always had wooden steps for the players to go up in the dugouts. We had nice concrete walls in the dugouts. We wanted to have more permanent. Every couple of years they're having to tear wooden steps and replacing them. So we wanted concrete steps in both dugouts. That was achieved. That's 1754. And then the extra brackets in the bleachers, the last item. So when they were doing the design of the bleachers, the composites, they believe that the brackets were supposed to be 48 inches apart. Getting into it further, looking at it, they need to be 34 inches. And so they required more brackets. Not one that necessarily we like to see. We like to have it done right first time when it gets bid out, but it was something that was missed. And so it required additional about 80 brackets, 60 to 80 brackets. And those are galvanized steel, they're dipped, they're long-term brackets. I want to say they're about $60, $70 a piece. And so with that, the actual cost of the contractor was $11,134. And Mike and I talked, and what we had offered to the council would be pay for half. It felt like it was partially their miss, but we didn't want them at 48 inches either. We want to make sure they're done right. They're a better bench. They got more support. So I think in the long run of the facility, we got a much better project for the additional $5,577. So with those 4 changes, the original contract that we opened back last summer, $831,000. Change order number 1 was $25,377. This change order, $29,081. That brings the new contract price and the final contract price, $885,458. And with that, the original contract to substantial completion was November 1 of 16. We added this concrete. We had the contractor, the original contractors had the first base side wall and the home plate wall. Well, in that, in change order number 1, we had them do the third base wall. We did a lot of additional things for that contractor. There's no way we could have asked them to meet November 1 as a completion date. So we're looking to extend the completion date from November 1, 16 to when you took substantial completion of March 13th, 2017. So that's 133 days.
And the fence is all done then?
Fence is done, yeah. And that was another couple projects that Rotor did with the pillars, and so we added projects on for them. So I think the 133 days is all right to do that. And they had, when some of the winter months it was just cold, they weren't able to do much down there anyway.
Concrete work couldn't get done too.
Yeah.
I think that doing that out front, that keeps that water from rolling up into the stadium now.
Yeah.
Which that made a lot of sense.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, I was down for different games, high school games, merchants games, very impressed with the facility. Everything turned out really nice, and we have a nice facility. There's a couple things that we'll talk with the merchants group that probably needs to change, but nothing with the stadium, no additional major significant cost to the stadium, but maybe there's some things we need to tweak.
Most of those games are really full.
Yeah.
I talked with Donnie afterwards to that last game, and I know they're coming back.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple other communities that might not be in. They were
Well,
looking at some other communities, but Carroll seemed to be pretty solid. They really enjoyed coming here.
Yeah. Host families had really good experience with the players. And they did help with fields when Parks guys needed some help. They They
came down and helped.
Yeah, they came volunteered, so.
Any other questions for Jack? If not, I'll need a motion and approval of change order number 2 to the Carroll Merchants Baseball Stadium renovation contract.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes?
Cox?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, Jack, before you take off, I was going to save this for closing comments, but I was just asked to pass on a thank you and kind of a attaboy to the golf course staff for maintenance of the golf course. Been hearing some real positive feedback on like the greens and whatnot, how well they're being maintained, so.
Yeah, Scott and the staff, they've tried a few different things that we've done in the past, and it seems to be going well. Equipment, we bought the little bit longer or wider mower, that sure helps. So yeah, I've heard the same thing. We appreciate that. I'll make sure to relay that to the
Super.
staff
Thank you.
tomorrow.
It was such a dry summer, they really have done a phenomenal job maintaining the facility.
Yeah. Thank you.
The lights at the pool are pretty good, too.
What's that?
The lights at the pool are pretty good, too.
Lights at the pool?
The LED lights that you put in.
Yeah. Oh, yes, and the indoor pool,
yeah.
outdoor pool. Yeah, that really
Those are
bright
free,
in there.
that's Starlight.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I'm heading out to the county, their meeting to review the REAP grant for the additional trail. So that's where I'm heading now.
Thank you.
So, all right, thanks.
Then, I'm sorry, we'll go back up to ordinances. And Timber Creek East Subdivision Plat 5, and Randy, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The developer, S&G Development Company, has completed the public improvements in the Timber Creek East Subdivision Plat 5. Those improvements included sanitary sewer, water main, and roadway paving. They have been reviewed for acceptance and assumption of maintenance and repair. So unless there are any questions, I would recommend acceptance by motion of the public improvements for future maintenance and care, subject to the provision of the maintenance bond, and passage and approval of the ordinance establishing grades on Deer Creek Lane in the subdivision.
Well, this ordinance just affects that Deer Creek area, it doesn't affect anywhere else.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions for Randy? If not, I will need a motion to accept the public improvements in the Timber Creek Subdivision Plat 5 for future maintenance and repair subject to the maintenance provisions of the surety bond.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Cox?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes?
Motion is approved.
And then I need a motion to approve the ordinance establishing grades on Deer Creek Lane and Timber Creek Subdivision Plat 5, please.
Actually,
So-
can we
Do we have readings on?
readings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Waive
that's
all
right.
three, or do
You want to waive all three
Waive
readings?
all.
Yeah, I think
Waive all
so.
the 3 readings?
Yeah,
That's right.
I'd move to waive all 3 readings of the ordinance establishing grades on Deer Creek Lane and the Timber Creek East Subdivision Plat 5.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to waive all 3 readings. Fleshner?
Yes?
Haley?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Motion
Motion.
to
Go
go.
ahead. You started.
No,
Two.
come on.
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
There you go. Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion to adopt. Seaman?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes?
Cox?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. We will move on then to the 10th Street Woodland Drive stop sign installation. And Randy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the completion of the roadway paving in the North Route 4th subdivision, we've created, altered, I guess, 2 intersections along Bella Vista Drive. One at 10th Street, which is a 3-legged intersection, and one at Woodland Drive, which now will become a 4-legged intersection. It's recommended to establish stop sign control of both 10th Street and Woodland at Bella Vista Drive. Bella Vista Drive has been planned and constructed to be basically an arterial or a through street through town. And this would establish a right-of-way for Bella Vista Drive. So an ordinance has been prepared to add these two stop locations to the city code, and unless there are any questions, I'd recommend passage and approval of the ordinance.
Placing the stop sign there meets the criteria, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
The guidance that it meets is Bella Vista Drive being the more important or through street, the others being the lesser important streets.
You had any resistance with this?
I've received one phone call that was not in favor of establishing a stop sign at Woodland.
You know, I went and drove by that. I think that intersection, you can't see the traffic coming from the south very easy, so I agree with the stop sign. The one at High Ridge, it's the same intersection on Woodland, and you can see the traffic coming from the south there better than you can at Bella Vista, so I totally agree, you need a stop sign where it's at, based off that.
Okay, great. We did put up, for your information, we anticipated opening of Woodland Drive, and we put up temporary stop signs, so they are in
Right.
place.
Right.
But certainly there was no council authority for those. But it was a kind of an abundance of caution if the road, Woodland would have been opened. So they'll be taken down if this is approved.
Randy, in future, when you have these, could we get a really simple picture showing where they're at? And the narrative's fine, but
Okay.
I like a picture.
Okay, sure.
I went through Drive too.
It's pretty obvious once you
Yeah.
go over there.
Yeah.
I was wondering if, it is kind of open there, is there any thought to painting a warning that the stop sign is coming up on Woodland? I mean, sometimes if you have I picture it might be going pretty fast there.
Well, that's a speed control problem,
Right.
and certainly can be.
Is there any advantage to that? I mean, I'm no expert.
Sure,
Does
there-
that help at all to
There can
warn
be.
people ahead of time? I mean, that's pretty open, at least for now, since there's no homes out there yet. It's
Oh, coming from the east, or you're
from
talking about
it would be
west,
coming from the west.
west town?
Right.
It can be. I mean, stop ahead signs are used in places. We don't use them too much for our low-speed traffic in town, 25-mile-an-hour traffic.
Okay.
Generally, we don't put them up there. They're just, a lot of additional signing in town. But I guess we can monitor it, and if it is placed, then monitor the approach to it. And if it is, warrants a stop ahead to let people know, that can be done. Those are not necessarily regulatory, so they can be placed without, certainly council can approve it, but they can be installed since they're not regulatory, just by staff action.
Any other questions for Randy? If not, I'll need a motion to approve the ordinance pertaining to placement of a stop sign at 10th Street and Woodland Drive at Bella Vista.
So moved.
First, would you like to do 1, 2, or 3 readings?
Another 3
She
readings.
does this to us every time, Mayor.
I think we should waive it to get it.
We should know.
permanent.
Just waive and put them in.
Yeah, get it going.
I don't have a problem with that. They're already kind of there anyway, so it's just placing them permanently.
How long have your temporaries been up?
Probably a little over a week,
Okay.
I would say.
I'd just like to make sure that people have time to voice their opinions before we pass an ordinance, but I understand getting it. Can we leave the temporaries up and
They'll be there they would be there until they put the original one, the new ones
permanent
up.
ones in?
Sure.
And as long, like I said, as long as it meets the criteria of what they have to go by to put a stop sign in.
Yeah, we're really kind of
Pretty
held to it
much.
anyway, aren't we?
Right.
Randy, I had a couple of families tell me they stopped there automatically anyway, even before the stop sign was there when they're heading east, before they go down Bella Vista, they just kind of naturally stop there, so it seems kind of natural.
Sure.
Obviously not to some people, but that's
Dude.
okay.
Sure.
It's all
Randy,
right.
our federal regulations will require us to have this type of control anyway, won't it?
The manual on uniform traffic control devices contains guidance for the installation of traffic control devices, including stop signs. And that guidance is for all jurisdictions to follow. And if it's uniformly followed, we would know pretty much if you drove in Carroll or you drove in Jefferson or Boone or wherever it is, you follow pretty much the same regulation for stop sign. Actually, that's why they're red and white, otherwise every town would have their own color. But for the placement of them, there is the guidance. Now, failure to place a stop sign in accordance with the guidance, I don't believe carries any liability, and Dave could probably address that better, to the city. So that's kind of the way I've learned it, and I think you're okay going either way with it. But following the guidance creates a uniform driving condition. So, and we certainly, I'll editorialize a little bit. We all know where there shouldn't be stop signs, that there are. When you're driving along and you stop for no particular reason, other than the fact there's a stop sign. Well, that probably, if you don't feel there should have been a stop sign there in your normal driving, there probably isn't included in the guidance. It's kind of, the MUTCD is kind of built upon the way people drive, really. And, speed limits are set based on 85th percentile speed, so you're most comfortable driving where 85% of the people are comfortable driving. So that's kind of the way the MUTCD is structured. There are a few items that are absolutely regulatory, but most are by guidance and practice and that type of thing.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Do you want to waive all three readings?
We haven't really moved to waive the readings yet, have we?
No.
I just made a
Yeah, Laverne
motion not to waive the readings, just to what you just recommended.
We'll have to waive the first reading then.
Yeah.
So that's out there. Somebody want to second that one? If there's no second and it dies, then you can go to another motion to waive all three readings. So no second? Then you're good to go on? Then I'll make a motion. Make the motion, I need a motion to approve of the ordinance pertaining to stops required on 10th Street and Woodland Drive at Bella Vista and waive all three readings.
So moved.
Second.
Yep, there's a motion and a second to waive all three readings.
Correct.
Cox?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Seaman?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Our first resolution this evening is US 30 and Grant Road intersection improvements, property transfer, state of Iowa, and Randy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Documents have been prepared to transfer 2 parcels of city property by warranty deed and 1 parcel to grant a temporary easement on city property to the state for the construction of the US 30 and Grant Road intersection improvement project. I've illustrated the parcels. They're generally identified as parcel 2 and parcel 9. And parcel 2 is the former Casey's property. Okay, upon that property, there's a proposal to grant by warranty deed to the state 4,021 square feet. So that would be permanent right of way. And also on parcel 2, there's a little sliver of property adjacent to that that's needed during construction. So that's recommended for a temporary easement, and that's 1,665 feet. Parcel number 9 is in the northwest quadrant of that intersection, and it's just a triangular piece of property that is needed to relocate the traffic signal base. Today's design standards place traffic signal poles farther from the back of curb than the current poles out there. And that's 1,904 square feet. So, and the transfer of these is proposed to be to the state by gift, no reimbursement to the city. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the resolution setting a public hearing for these proposed transfers for August 28th, next council meeting.
So then we'd get parcel number 2 temporary back and construction's over with.
Yes, yep, it expires, the way the easement is written, it expires on completion of
So
construction.
completion of construction, right? So there's enough room on the other side for the other lights, but they won't need any.
Yeah, no, on the northeast corner, we did purchase a triangular piece of property from that property owner.
Okay,
The city happened to be the property owner in the northwest corner.
okay.
Northeast corner, it was an individual property owner.
Any other questions for Randy? If not, I will need a motion to approve the resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed transfer for August 28th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Fleischer?
Yes.
Cobb?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. The second resolution is the water distribution hydraulic model, professional services agreement, and Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A Department of Natural Resources Water Supply Sanitary Survey had noted 2 items in the city's water distribution system that needed addressing. And those 2 items were an area of lower water pressure and an area of lower chlorine residuals. Not the same area for both. A plan of action to address those has been discussed with JEO Consulting Group, and we've concluded that the way to initiate that review is to create a water system model, and then utilize that model to address those pressures and chlorine residuals. We've negotiated a scope of services, which is detailed in the agreement, but it includes those to develop and calibrate a model and address the minimum pressures and minimum chlorine residuals. Compensation within the agreement is based on lump sum at a total of $49,600. Schedule includes completion of the project by the end of this calendar year. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend passage and approval of the resolution approving the agreement with JEO Consulting Group for the water distribution hydraulic model project.
Randy, just out of curiosity, are this coming from the Iowa DNR? Is there even a choice to do nothing?
No, there isn't.
That's what I thought.
Did you read that up there? Natural Resources.
So,
Department of. Any other questions for Randy? Yeah. How did they find this? Is this just periodic testing that they do?
No, the periodic is the sanitary surveys, and they interview our staff during those surveys. Through the years, this isn't brand new. I mean, in the areas of low pressure are the areas of higher elevation within the city.
And those are known.
Yeah, they've had
Very
houses
known.
on them for 40 years, and the pressure's pretty much been the same. For whatever reason, this time around, the DNR says you have to address that. So we have to address it. So this has kind of been ongoing. The pressures are not below the regulatory pressure that we have to maintain in the system. That's always been complied with. but these are lower than maybe what's desired or maybe what's acceptable. But they certainly are within the regulatory pressures that are required to be maintained.
Will that alter the chlorine level, though?
No, the chlorine level is in a different part of town.
Oh,
And that's been there for probably 30 years. And we maintain a chlorine residual, certainly, in those areas, always have. But it's below the regulatory chlorine residual. So there is a residual maintained, so we know there's no bacteria in the line. But there is a regulatory chlorine residual that it does not meet. And that will be addressed in this also.
Give me some pressure numbers
Oh,
that we're dealing with here.
on the full range of pressure numbers, we maintain about 100 PSI at our high service pump station. Within the system, we're required to maintain a minimum of 20 PSI. And the lowest part of pressures in town probably run around the 23, 25 PSI. So it's low, and that's not all the time. That's when there's high usage. But static pressures on a normal day would probably be more likely in the mid-30s in the lowest part of pressure of town. Generally in town, we'll run anywhere from 50 to maybe 90.
So we're gonna raise this from 25 to 30 up to 60 to 90?
Well, we'll
That's
be
what I
able
think
to
we're gonna find
analyze
out.
and see what improvements are necessary
That's what this
to
tells
make
us.
these
Right, but
steps.
that's your goal.
We'd like to get it up in the acceptable range, which probably the bottom of it would be the 50 to 60.
Okay, where I'm going with this, if you were saying a lot of these homes were 40 years old or so, that increase in pressure, is that going to cause some problems for those residents?
It could in some fixtures. If a fixture's marginal anyway, it could. Mhm.
Randy, your memo says that this model will help us analyze alternatives. When we have information regarding the alternatives, does the DNR weigh in and offer guidance, or is it totally, are we autonomous when we get to decide the alternatives? And also time frame, who dictates how long we have to rectify whatever they identify?
We're probably autonomous in the selection of the alternative.
Okay.
As long as it meets their requirements.
Well,
for
yeah,
pressure and-
but I figured any alternative would meet their requirements, but maybe something would be less costly, or, I have no
Yeah.
idea of what we
That's what we'll be
face.
looking at, certainly.
Okay.
And as far as the time frame, they will probably weigh in on it if we don't, systematically proceed forward, at least with,
Sure.
identification and then the planning for it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Randy? If not, I'll need a motion to approve the resolution for an agreement with JEO Consulting for professional services for the water distribution hydraulic model project.
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Cox?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion's approved.
Thank you. Our last resolution is that covering street lighting on 30th Street and West Street. And Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following receipt of a request to install a streetlight at 30th and West, Mid-American did report back to us that there's not currently secondary power at that location. So in order to establish that, they need to set up a pole and a transformer at that location. And if you still want the streetlight there, the cost would be $827.29 for those installations. Then a $7.28 a month fee for rental of the light. So the impact on the budget, current budget of the street light only is, the current budget is $185,000. And actually, we will have a credit during this year of a previous overcharge to our street lighting of $103,365.48. So we'll significantly anticipate under expending the net expenditure. But this resolution then would be $80.08 for the balance of the fiscal year, resulting in an estimated expenditure of about $82,000 for street lighting. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend authorization of Mid-American to install the pole and transformer at a city cost of $827.29 and passage of the resolution installing the street light at 30th and West.
Why was there a recommendation to bring that light forward?
It was a request, we received a request, I think, from a resident.
Okay.
I believe that's the way it was initiated. And then we turned around and asked Mid-American what to do, or what it would take to do it.
Does it meet their requirement of where a light should be?
Well, it meets the city's
It meets the
policy.
city's policy, okay.
Yes, it does. The city's policy is generally at intersections and then 300 to 400 foot spacing. Now, that spacing doesn't meet any Lighting Institute standards for light on the roadway. We are meeting Institute standards for the streetscape. So you can see how many more lights are in the streetscape than there are in the outlying areas. But intersection lighting, we historically have done that because that's where the conflict points are in traffic. And like those, it really makes safer traffic operation.
There's pedestrian there too, don't
Oh, yeah, it's-
There's
Lots of-
pedestrians
lots
there
of
too,
walkers.
so
Yeah.
the lighter the
Corner of the
better.
golf course, correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Pardon me?
right.
It's dark
Corner of the golf course.
Yes.
Yeah.
With all the trees around there, it's dark.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to have, I know that in the fall and in the spring, before the time changes, there are people that walk through there and, even at night, if it's a mild winter, people are walking across there at 5 o'clock and it's dark, so.
There is one on the corner of Grant and 30th, isn't there?
I believe there is.
Yeah, I think there is.
Yeah, there's one
So
there.
this would be the same as that,
Correct.
really.
And that puts a lot of light in that spot where there's pedestrians
Yes.
walking across.
I think we have,
Part of the
actually, I
street.
think we have lights spaced all the way up Grant at 300 to 400 feet.
Mhm.
Oh.
Any other questions for Randy?
Just one, if we ever needed more lights out there, how far does that transformer go out down? 3 blocks, what's,
Oh, okay, I guess I didn't ask that. I would have imagined that it would serve, down to the clubhouse.
if it ever came to where we needed something else, it's one thing.
The transformer would be there, then
Yeah.
they could add
Yeah.
more if we needed more.
I would think that they could. It would just, actually, they have primary power there, and they just have to step it down to operate light.
Okay.
So we can combine the installation of the transformer and then addition of the street light. Is there any other questions for Randy? If not, I'll need a motion to authorize Mid-America Energy to install a pole and transformer at a cost of $827.29, and with the addition of a street light at 30th Street and West Street.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. We'll move to reports, and our first report is a police vehicle purchase. And Chief, please.
Thank you. On the 7th of August, we opened bids to replace one of our police vehicles. We received 2 bids back, one from Champion and one from New Way Ford, and the bids were identical. And those are the only 2 that we did receive back. We requested bids from the 3 local new car dealers, And then we also open it up to New Way Forward, because you want to historically receive one bid back every year. We're just testing to see if the costs were the same, and they were identical. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask them. If not, my recommendation would be to accept the bid from Champion Ford and purchase one 2008 Ford Police Interceptor all-wheel drive utility for a trade difference of $20,268.
Do they do all the maintenance out there too?
They do warranty maintenance, otherwise, Performance Tire does the maintenance for us also.
Oh,
Just depends on what the issue is. Brakes and tires and things go other places.
Are the warranties on police interceptors the same as a regular car?
3 years, 36,000.
Same thing?
even though you put more miles on. You get that 36.
Harder miles is what I was getting
Yeah,
at.
it depends. Some meet the warranty before the 3 years is up, others don't.
It's 3 years, 36, whichever comes first.
Yeah, or first. So in some cars, you get that in 2 years, so it just depends on the vehicle.
Will this put you at all Explorers?
No, we'll have one more sedan. that
Some
we'll
more sedan.
Trade off for a utility next year.
Okay. Any other questions for Brad? Now I'll need a motion to approve the purchase of one 2018 Ford Police Interceptor all-wheel drive for the trade difference of $20,268 from Champion Ford Lincoln of Carroll.
So,
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Dirks?
yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Fleishner?
Yes.
Motion.
Thank you. The second report is the mobile portable radio replacement. And Brad, please.
Thank you. The state of Iowa is currently developing a statewide radio system. It's going to be a 700 megahertz digital system. If you notice, there's a new tower on the west side of town at the DOT station. The tower is up, the equipment is not. I believe the deadline for this to be completed is the summer of 2018, but I think that's pretty fluid of when it's actually going to be completed. In the meantime, the E911 Service Board is in the process of upgrading radios for all law enforcement across the county, and they're going to slowly make their way through EMS and fire services also. They were able to get a large grant to cover a majority of the costs, and the cost back to the city is going to be about an eighth of the total cost to purchase the radios. The total cost for the police department, if we were to pay this 100%, would be over $98,000. So the grant has helped us quite a bit. The cost that would be to us would be a little over $12,000 if this is approved. But in the meantime, or to get this a policy, or get this taken care of, we need to waive the purchasing policy. If we were to go to bids with something like this, we're never going to see a price this low. It's going to be more towards the $100,000 range without the grant. So with the E911 system or service board doing this grant and then purchasing the radios, we're going to save quite a bit of funds for this. Again, if you have any questions, I'll be free to answer them. Otherwise, my recommendation would be for waiving of the purchasing policy, number 501, and purchase 6 Motorola APX 7500 P25 mobile radios and 15 APX 8000 P25 portable radios from the Carroll County Joint E911 Service Board for $12,301.88.
I make that motion.
I just have a question. These radios will allow you to coordinate with ISP and the county.
And we currently do that now through a system, but once it becomes digital, it's going to create,
Right.
and I'm not a professional on any of this electronic part of the radios, but it'll create talk groups where if there's a situation, tornado comes to town, they can create a talk group for a certain area of the state, and then anyone that comes into it would have access to that
Conversation
through that. And the radios, once the digital system is up and running in the state of Iowa, say I'm in Dubuque and a situation arises, they can contact me on the radio, on my radio in Dubuque, where now if I leave the city of Carroll and I lose contact about the collision.
Does this change the use of scanners that people seem to like to have?
They'll have to have a digital scanner that's able to scan through the 700 range, so it will make some changes to that.
What happens with the old equipment?
Our HC1250s, which are our portable radios, I'm going to guess at least 15 years old, if not more. I believe the fire department's radios are even older than that, so ours are going to go to them. The in-car radios, though, I think they're just gonna be scrapped, or probably saved for spares.
Now, wait a minute, I thought I heard you say that the fire was going to be updating also with this, so,
Down the road, the funding's not there to support every
The grants.
aspect of the emergency response in the county, so they're gonna start with law enforcement, we're the highest users of the radio system. I believe the next on the step is EMS, and they're gonna work their way through fire system.
What's the
There'll be some
time?
time frame for that.
what's the timeline on that, do you know, Chief?
I don't, it all kind of depends on grants and funding opportunities. Most of the volunteer fire departments don't have a lot of funding to replace radios, so they're gonna really rely heavily on some grants. It's all probably gonna have to kind of come and see how long.
But your old radios are newer than the fire departments
Most of them
currently
are.
have.
A lot of the fire departments only
Right.
have one or two portable radios that they provide to the firemen. Now they'll be able to get a few
So
more.
it'll upgrade,
They are gonna
it'll upgrade ours, but
It's a very
not to the
unique
extent
feature.
of the law enforcement, but if we wait and get the grants, then.
I'm grateful for the upgrade, I was just concerned that next year we'd be getting another hit from the fire
Right.
department, so I didn't know if that was a year, 2 years.
I'm gonna guess for
5
probably
years.
more than 5 to 10 years down the road for their upgrades.
Now, if we want, we could probably do it on our own, depending on what Greg says,
A lot more expensive.
I think
It'd be a lot more expensive.
I think we'll
correct?
get by with these, that sounds fine.
If that's satisfactory.
And you've already got this money in your budget.
We did budget for it, we knew it was coming, and the 911 board had given us a pretty good heads up, and we weren't sure what the cost was gonna be, it was depending on how much they got for a grant, so they were able to get a very large grant that's making a huge difference in our costs. So we did budget for it,
It's a big antenna they put up out there.
yes it is.
There is a motion, and I'll second it.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second. Fleshner.
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Haley.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Oh, Jack, you're back. You want to do the change order again? None, I'll move on to the annual council planning session. And Mike. Or just Laura.
Mike can take
Sorry.
it.
Mike hasn't done anything.
Been quiet.
Mayor and council, we have been working with Jeff Schott to identify a date that works for our annual planning session. It appears December 14th at 5 PM. That would be at the Region 12 offices. We'd plan to run till probably around 9 PM, and we would provide a meal at that time. So we ask for your consideration to set that as a special meeting for our annual planning session.
I think we've all been contacted about this, and
Was Misty okay with it?
Yes.
Okay. Since she's not here, I'll make sure that she's covered.
in that case, I'd move that we schedule the council annual planning session on Thursday, December 14th, 2017, at 5 PM to be led by Jeff Schott, University of Iowa Institute of Public Affairs.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Haley.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Fleshner.
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. I trust everyone's read the committee reports. My comment this evening, I'd like to thank everybody that got out and participated on August 1st and ended up with a positive referendum. Hopefully, we can take the next steps and keep moving forward. Are there any other comments from the council? If not, I'll need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Seaman.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Fleshner.
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Haley.
Yes.
We are adjourned.